Hello.
So thank you so much for joining us here today.
Oh, thank you.
I thought I'd start at the very beginning, and I wanted to ask when you realised you wanted to get involved in the entertainment industry and when you wanted to be an actress.
I am an only child, so I never had anyone to play with when I was little. So I used to make things, I used to do shows for my parents, and they'd have to sit there while I had a makeshift curtain, and I do voices and things like that. And then I remember when I was about 5, and I wanted to do horse riding and ballet, but my mum said to me, we can't afford to do both, so we're going to have to toss a coin, and we'll see what. So heads, it'd be ballet, tails is horse riding, and I got heads. So I started to do ballet. And that's when I realised that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something involved in the arts. I was a terrible ballet dancer, awful. But I did manage to get into a theatre school called Lane Theatre Arts, where it was like musical theatre courses. I couldn't sing, terrible singer, and my dancing was kind of mediocre, but the acting sort of started to shine, and I got a very bad injury in my groin when I was about 16, 17, because I went down into splits without warming up and ripped all my groin. So that put paid to my dance career, thankfully, and the drama teacher at that school said to me, I think probably your forte lies in acting. That's where you could probably maybe make a living. So I left that school and I went to this little tiny drama school in Hitchin called Hertfordshire Theatre School, which is now no more, doesn't exist anymore. And I was there for 3 years, and in my final year I did a play, and an agent came to see it. And the day after, he rang the school and said, I've got a meeting for a television, just one episode of a television show called The Bill. Can Amanda come to do it? And I went and I got it, and then that's how I got my agent, and that's how I really started acting. But I'd always wanted to do something involving performance, or from a very early age. I was always something that I knew I wanted to do. And then when I got affirmation from people saying, oh no, you can do, you can act, you can tell stories naturally and quite well. That's when I realised that that's what I wanted to do, and it's always, as I get older, actually, the more I want to do it. Yeah, it's not diminishing in its allure, if you like.
So, is there ever anything else that you wanted to explore? Any other areas that you wanted to explore, or something else that you feel like you could have?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at writing. And I want to direct at some point. I'd like to dip my toe into directing, because I think I quite like that. I like the idea of telling people what to do. No, I don't. Well, I do. No, I do. That's just true. So yeah, I think. But I like that. There's nothing specific really that. I mean, I still want to act. I still, and I like to be able to do the three things: music. Theatre, film and television, and radio as well, which is really fun. But yeah, directing I think is the next thing, and writing hopefully, but it's just getting the courage up to write, because it's quite a daunting thing. You sort of sit in front of a blank page and spew, and I'm not ready to do that yet, I don't think, but soon.
So moving on to one of your biggest roles, your experience with Sherlock, how did you get this role in particular, and was it everything that you expected?
I got it because I know the people in it, and I went out with one of them for 16 years. No, that's not the only reason. I hope that's not the only reason. I hope I got it on the merits that I might be a good actress, or okay. I remember it was was I in the third series? I wasn't I? Yeah, okay. So I remember we were watching the second series round at Stephen Moffat and Sue Virtue's house, and I think it was the last episode. And after it finished, Stephen and Mark said, do you want to come and have a chat in the kitchen? And I was like, oh, okay, this sounds interesting. And Martin came in as well, and we were sitting there chatting away. And they said, oh, so in the third series, we're going to introduce Mary Morstan. And I said, oh, wow, that's brilliant. That sounds so good. That sounds so exciting. And I was thinking they were going to say, do you know anyone that could play the part? And I was going to say, yes, Nicola Walker or Olivia Colman. And they said, well, we've been talking and we think we'd like you to do it. And I was like, what? Sorry, what? And they said, yeah, we'd like you to play Mary Morstan. And we said, because you know Martin, you know the show, and we think you'd be perfect. And I burst into tears and said yes. I did actually cry, which was really embarrassing now. And that's how I got the part. That's, I didn't I didn't have to audition, which was really nice because the auditions are terrifying. So it was basically a little bit of plagiarism. Is it plagiarism? Yes, it is plagiarism, isn't it? No, nepotism. It's nepotism. It's nepotism. A little bit of nepotism. And hopefully it was also my ability, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so I got to play Mary Morstan for 2 series and a Christmas special, which was just joyful because she was such a complicated and crazy character. I just think she, and I don't know, there's not many female parts where you can be like a mother and an assassin and you get to kill or attempt to murder the main character and and then get shot yourself. It's it was a real roller coaster of a role, and it was something that I cherished, and I loved every second of it. And then of course the Christmas special where we got to dress up as Victorians, and that was a lot of fun. It was really a role that just kept on giving, and I'd get each episode and be like, oh my God, I'm getting married in this one. And oh my God, I'm an assassin. I get to kind of ride on a motorbike, and then I get to go to Morocco, and and so it was just, I get to be on a camel. How many people get to ride on a camel? Quite a few, actually, probably. And I got to have these big, guns, and got to shoot people, which is crazy. Not something that I advocate, but in terms of a story, it was meant. We had to do it. But yeah, it was a fabulous role, really lovely role, and I think Stephen and Mark write really well for women. I think they have a really good ear for women. I think it's great.
So what's been your biggest takeaway if you just had to pin down one thing from the show, because it sounds like such an incredible experience? I liked the episode where I died. I did like that, and that was like 2 days of filming in this they'd made this aquarium, because we couldn't actually film in the London Aquarium, obviously, because it was far too expensive, and also because it's actual fish. So they built an aquarium in Cardiff in the studios that we were working with, and then they had you see all the fish behind and the sharks, and that was just like film, just like stock film of like sharks and jellyfish and stuff, and it was quite cool. But it took 2 days to do that, and it was felt like a little play, because it was such a long, it's like 6 or 7 pages, and then there was all this thing of they built this thing where I had to sort of I leant on it, so as I leant I wouldn't fall. It was really clever the way they did it. They made this whole thing where it looked like I did it in slow motion, like when I fell, and I had like swabs and things, so that they go off as I got shot. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was really fun. So I think that was my favourite part of the show, and actually the one where we revealed that she's an assassin and she goes to shoot Sherlock. That was good. That was a good day. And I actually used, I think I used James Bond's gun in that. That was his gun he used in one of his films. So I had James Bond's gun, which I was walking around telling everybody. Nobody gave a shit. It was like, so? I don't care. But yeah, I think both the shootings were good. They were fun to do. Sounds awful, doesn't it? Especially in the current climate. That's a terrible thing to say. You should probably say that. You mentioned earlier that the show was written well for women, and you've been described as having become a feminist icon since you've done the show. Has this experience shed any new light for you on sexism within the entertainment industry? And have you seen any progress, positive or otherwise, on this issue in the recent years?
I do. I mean, I do find it. Bless you. I do get angry about how women are represented in the media and in dramas and things, and I still have a battle with equal pay and things like that. I'm very militant about that. I don't know how it's changed. I don't know if it's changing that radically. I don't think there's a huge shift for change. I think we're more aware of situations on film sets where you have to look after younger actresses. Like I am fully, because I'm an older lady now, so I don't give a shit what people think about me as much. So if I see a younger actress on set who's being bullied, or it feels like she's being, victimised about, having to do certain things, then I will absolutely step in and say, no, I'm not having that.
And do you see that happen often?
It's happened a few times on jobs I've done, and I've stepped in and said, well, she doesn't have to do that, and there's no reason for that because it's not in the script, so she doesn't need to take her top off. So let's just that's. And yeah, I just make sure that young actresses have an ally, because I think that women of a certain age, my age, can sometimes be a bit bitter and be a bit resentful of younger people coming up and so I don't want to be that woman. I want to be somebody who young girls and young women can come to and not feel like that they can't express themselves and things, because I know there are actresses that make younger actresses feel really bad and aren't helpful, and I don't want to be that person. I want to be somebody who is, who will look after young actresses and also, young actors who feel like, that don't know the protocol on film sets and theatre, and I just want them to know that there is a safe place for women in the theatre and television industry. And I think everybody is more aware of it now. Everybody is. It's becoming more, ever since the whole Weinstein thing that came out and all that. People are more aware of it, and I do see it on film sets that people are just more careful, which is good, which is really healthy and helpful, and it's all about looking after each other and making everywhere a safe place. Really, just feeling like you can express yourself and you don't have to feel. Like you're being victimised or bullied, or I hate that more than anything. It's just, if I see any kind of bullying or victimisation, I'm in. I don't like it. Yeah, I think it is changing, but we still have a long way to go, I think.
So you mentioned the issues present in both the film and the theatre industries. Do you see it manifest itself in similar ways, or is it worse in one of those two?
Yeah, I don't need. I mean, I've just done a play in the West End, and I think theatre is a completely different animal. I've never experienced bullying or anything like that within theatre. I don't think I've ever seen it, and I've done a few plays now. In television, I think it's easier to do. I'm not really sure why, but it just feels like the environment in television feels like it's easier to kind of just it feels less safe. But as I say, I mean, I don't see it as like the last couple of jobs I've done that I haven't had to kind of step in, and I sometimes have to. But I haven't recently, which is good. I sound like such a busybody, don't I? That's awful. I sound like a real kind of interfering old bint, and I'm not. I just want people to be able to express themselves in an environment where they feel safe. And acting is that. It's basically that.
So speaking about your roles in theatre, you've worked in theatre, film, television series, and you mentioned the radio. How would you compare these four experiences, and is there one particular one that you'd like to go into specifically in the future, or do you see yourself as continuing to explore?
Well, I'd like to be able to cover all bases. I think, I don't think any of them are mutually exclusive. Like the same with comedy and drama. I think, it's very easy to pigeonhole people, and if you do comedy for a certain amount of time, people go, oh, she's a comedian, and actually, it's nice to be able to do both and cherry pick out of each one. I think theatre is really hard. It's very hard to do, I think, just in terms of... It's really scary. I mean, I find it really scary, theatre. I think it's... You have to... I personally have to, like, I'll do the play at night and then I'll go home and be like, oh, thank God I've done it, that's great. And then I wake up in the morning and go, oh God, I've got to do it again. And you kind of run on adrenaline all day going, I've got to go and do that again now, I've got to go and do that, and I might forget my lines or something might happen. And so, but there is something quite exciting about that. It doesn't pay great, but you do it because you love it. And there is something really exciting about theatre, but it's a good way to lose weight, really, because you're constantly going, oh, I've got to do a play again tonight. And then 2 shows is like, oh, I've got to do 2. That's just, yeah. Whereas television, it's much more sedentary. You know, you get picked up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you get a car to work, and then you get breakfast given to you and you get makeup, and then you sit in your trailer for like 2 hours while they light it, and then you get on the set and you do it like... You do like a scene, depending on how long it is, for a couple of hours, and then it's done, and you never have to do it again. And so you just cancel it and continue, and then go on to the next thing. So there is something. They're both really, really fun, but theatre's more terrifying because you can make mistakes in television as well. You can easily make. And if you do it in theatre, it's like, oh no, God, and that really stays with you. I've had a few times where I've forgotten lines and gone, oh, this is an ordeal now. This is actually, I hate this. I want to give up acting and run away. Because it comes from nowhere as well. I'm so sure of my lines, really on it. And then I'll go on, like, I've just done The Sun in the West End, and there was one instant I was like, I've got no idea what I'm going to say. I've got no idea what's coming next. And he's saying his line, and I'm about to, nothing. And I just said something that had didn't even bear any resemblance to the line. And then Laurie was like, how do I reply to that? I said, I'm so sorry. It just fell out of my head. And then the next night, it's fine. It's like nothing. So that's what's terrifying about theatre, is that you think, I know this backwards. And then it just falls out of your head. And I know... Every single actor has said that, that I know and that I love and respect. Have all gone, oh God, no, yeah. I've been doing a monologue and then just gone off the rails because I can't remember anything, and then come back. There's no rhyme or reason for it. There is no rhyme and reason for it. And then, like, also laughing, like corpsing. I laugh a lot. I'm such an easy corpser, and this play I've just done was about suicide and childhood depression, so there wasn't room, you would think, to laugh or to it was awful. Like the last sort of third of the play, I had to do a scene with this lovely actor called John Light, and just made each other laugh. We just and biting our lip and turning up stage, and awful, really unprofessional. But with telly, you can just do that and then do another take. It's fine.
So can you tell us a bit more about your new show, The Sun? The new play, The Sun?
Oh, The Sun, yes. So it was the final play in a trilogy written by a French writer called Florian Zeller. And he wrote The Mother, The Father and The Son. And the mother, I think, the father was about Alzheimer's. The mother was about depression or bipolar. And then this last one was about suicide and childhood depression. They all sound really upbeat, don't they? It's like an ache-born. But yeah, so this was the third one, and he'd always premiered them at the Tricycle, which is now the Kiln. And Mike Longhurst, who's now the artist director at the Donmar, he approached me and said, would you come in and read for this part, the mother of this boy? And I read it in about half an hour. It was just a real page turner. It was just one of these most amazing plays where you don't know what's going to happen next, and then the end is just, it punches you in the stomach. And my character Anne was such a beautifully written, sensitively written part about this mother who sees her son spiraling and can't reach out to him, and just has been left by her husband with this wayward child who doesn't understand what's happening to him. And she's trying to help him, and in the end, she can't. And it really, because I've got 2 kids. I've got a 14-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter, so it really resonated with me. And also I'm a single mum, you know, not single, but I do the lion's share of the childcare and at the moment. And so it I was thinking, Christ, this could be anybody I know who's a single parent, or anybody who has a child. And immediately I started going, Joe, are you okay? Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? How's school? Is everything all right? Are you okay? He's like, Mum, what's the matter? And I was like, well, it's just I'm doing this play about childhood depression, and I just want to make sure that you're okay. Are you okay? And he's like, yes, Mum. Go away. I'm trying to play FIFA. And my daughter, who's this maniac, she was like, well, I'm coming to see it because I want to be an actress, so I'm coming to see it because I want to see you cry. And I was like, yeah, there's two completely different children there. Like, one is like, yeah, whatever, Mum, and she's like, no, I'm going, like, yeah. So it's about dying. I was like, all right, easy, you know. But it's a beautifully written play, and we were very lucky to get to do it in the West End again. And we did it for 10 weeks, and it felt very important. And I love those jobs that come along where they feel like they're doing something, you know, that they're changing people. They're changing people's perception, and I think it really did. You know, we had a lot of people coming. We had grief groups, you know, of people who'd gone through their loved ones committing suicide, and so it felt important, and it didn't feel contrived, and it didn't feel like it was talking about the subject matter for the sake of it. It was beautifully handled and sensitively handled, I think, by the writer and by the director. And it's one of my favourite jobs I've ever done, and I really miss it. I miss doing it now, which is interesting, seeing as the subject matter was so intense. It did feel like a relevant piece of storytelling, and it was. Yeah, it felt really important, and I think we touched a lot of people. You know, a lot of people would come up to us afterwards and be crying and saying thank you for telling that story, because it's not really talked about, and it's still something that is really frowned upon. It's like, you know, I've suffered from depression. I suffer from depression, and I know that feeling. I know that feeling of it not being taken seriously, and just because you can't see it, it's not important, but it's terrifying, depression, I think, and if you don't talk about it, and if it's not put out there, then I think it's a dangerous. It can be a dangerous thing.
So, how do you think it's changed people's perceptions on mental illness?
Well, I just think
society?
I think because, you know, we had a lot of mental health charities come to see it, and they were advocating and saying, you know, this is something that needs to be talked about. It's something that we don't talk about, depression, and we don't, you know, it's like, you know, this person came to see it who's from a young men's mental health charity, and, you know, he said the most common thing is that, you know, people say if you've got a broken arm, you immediately treat it. You can see the pain. You can see something, but it's exactly the same thing. You know, it's your brain. It's something telling you inside that it's making you feel desolate, and it's one of those things that really needs to be talked about, because it's like a dirty secret. I've found that since doing the play. It's like, it's not taken seriously, and I'm hoping, you know, that again, you know, with equal pay for women and women in the workplace, I think that hopefully the tide is changing, and we are taking things like that more seriously. I really hope we are, because it's a huge problem, I think, more than we know.
You've also spoken out a bit in the past on just criticism about social media. How do you think social media impacts mental illness within society?
I think it's really bad. I see my kids have got Instagram private accounts. Then not everybody can get on them, and I'm like on them like a hawk, going, who's this, who's that, what, and don't post that, delete that photo. But there is a pressure. I think there is a pressure with stuff like Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat, and not so much Facebook. That's nuts. But certainly those immediate things where somebody can say something with no recall or recourse, and it can affect, I've seen it affect people. And, you know, I've had people say horrible things to me on Twitter, and, you know, about 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I'd have been mortified by it, but now I just think, oh, shut up, go away. But that's only because I'm older and I don't care. But I think if in my day, we had diaries. You know, we used to have a diary, so nobody knew what we were saying. You know, and if you wanted to be horrible to somebody, you had to do it to their face, or you'd write them a letter. You know, you'd pass it under the table at school. You can see when you're horrible to somebody. If you're horrible to somebody to their face, you see the reaction. So you see you see the effect you have on somebody if you say something really horrible to them. With stuff like Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, you can say whatever you want, and you're not experiencing how that person feels. So the empathy goes. You know, the empathy in that person who's being horrible to somebody, they don't have it. So it becomes really easy to say the most vitriolic, hateful things to people, and without any recourse or anything. So I think it's a horrible way. And you do it people do it anonymously as well, which really, I get so angry when I see people doing that, and they haven't even got the balls to be themselves. I think, well, if you're going to be that hateful about somebody, or if you're going to be that vile, at least have the balls to do it as yourself. And it's the biggest, it's the most cowardly thing, I think, to do. And I have a real bugbear about people doing that on social media. And I think there has to become some sort of legislation or rule where I don't know how you would police it. I don't know, because it's so out of it, and it's such a new technology as well. We are still in the very, very early stages of that social media thing, and I think we are still, you know, we are the first people who are learning from it, and I'm hoping that as it advances that it won't either be taken seriously or something will be done where you cannot be that hateful to somebody and push somebody towards killing themselves, which is what happens. You know, it does happen a lot. You see it with, you know, kids who have been bullied off social media and then they go and hang themselves. I've spoken to parents where that's happened, and I think Twitter is an amazing place if you want to post pictures of dogs swimming or cats eating, I don't know, cucumbers or whatever. But it can also be a really terrifying place for young people, because it breeds it's pretty hateful, I think. I've seen it, and I think we all have to just be more vigilant and just be, you know, it's just about being kind. I think we don't take, you know, we take for granted just that feeling, you know, being kind. It's not cool, and it should be, you know, I think.
You've also been a vocal campaigner for animal rights.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about this work and how you balance it alongside acting?
Yeah, I've been banned 3 times from Twitter for being quite vocal about that. I think one was about Trump, and then 2 were because I saw a poacher had killed a baby elephant in front of its mother, and I think I wrote something pretty damning to them. So I got banned. But yes, I've always been an animal lover since I was a little girl, and I just think they don't have a voice. They can't stick up for themselves, and so I will, and I'll do everything I can to help animals. And I'm currently working with the dog meat trade, and there's a charity that are trying to get that stopped, and poaching. We're trying to stop. There's I will, any animal that I see in distress. I mean, I've got 3 rescue dogs, a rescue cat, and girls. I did have 2 rats that I rescued as well, and I'm basically a home for rescued animals. I say 3 dogs. One died. She died of old age. She was 18, but I'm basically a little Dr. Dolittle and bring in anything that needs a home. But yeah, it's only because I've always loved them. I've always grown up with animals, and my mum is an animal lover. I just think it's we're going to lose them. We're going to lose, giraffes have just been put on the endangered species list. We've now lost koala bears. Orangutans are just, everything's just depleting and nobody seems to be really doing much about it, and soon we're not going to have anything left. So I think it's, I don't know how we stop it. I don't know. It's scary, but I don't know.
Thank you so much. That was very powerful. And my final question before we open up to the audience is just I don't know whether you can talk about this or not, but your future plans, whether you plan to do more theatre in the future, in the near future, or film or TV.
I'm doing an episode of a thing called I Hate Susie with the gorgeous Billy Piper, so that's in a couple of weeks for Sky. And I've got a lovely play next year with some lovely people. Who you'll all know. You'll all know them. I suppose I could say. Stephen Moffat's written a play, and we're going to do it. So that's nice. And Mark Gatiss is directing it. Anyway, yes, and yes, I'm doing a film in the new year, which is a comedy set in a pub. So that'll be fun. But I don't know. It's all very exciting. That's the thing about being an actor. You never know what you're going to be doing next. But it's good.
Thank you. I think we can open up to questions from the audience now. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone to come to you. Can we go to the Panther? Hello.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's really nice.
When you were playing Mary in Sherlock, how did you deal with knowing that the fans would be analysing every part of your character?
Yeah, it was weird because I remember handling some of that quite badly now. In hindsight, I didn't, because I was new to it, and now I feel really bad about how I did handle certain things. I was a bit, stompy about things and minty, which I'm not about now at all. But I suppose she's such a. She's a Marmite character. I think she's a Marmite character, and I think you either love her or you hate her, and I'd much prefer that in terms of playing it, as opposed to somebody who's just a bit like, well, she's fine. But because she divided a lot of people, I really loved that. I really loved that, and people hated her. And people loved her, and I think, I think I was probably doing my job okay, because if people are ambivalent about her, it means she's not making a mark. Whereas people really didn't like her, and people really loved her, and I don't mind that, because of course, I get it. She came between John and Sherlock. She was divisive, and she was. She was not a very nice person, and then she was a nice person. So, I understand why fans liked her and why fans hated her, and I totally get it. She was a bitch and a really nice person at the same time. So I understand that, and I love that people hated her and loved her at the same time. It's good. Yeah, I think I did my job all right in that respect. I think. Don't know.
Can we go to the hand in the front row?
Thanks for coming.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So I think I have a more general question. So through getting to know all the characters you've played over the years, what kind of understandings of humans, or what kind of ways to understand humans do you think you've kind of got out of that experience?
I like that. I guess as I get older and I play more, I play different characters. I think I'm more tolerant of people. I think I'm less angry. Well, I say that though. It depends on the subject, I suppose. I don't know yet, but I suppose I've had luckily I've played really great characters, and characters that I haven't actually liked, and I think it's fine not to like the character you play. I mean, I have this conversation with people, and they say, well, no, you have to like you have to like part of your character. And I'm like, well, you don't really. I don't think you have to like your character in order to play them. I think you have to accept who they are and play with that. But I don't know. I suppose I'm more tolerant of. I think I'm more tolerant. I don't know. I tell you what I am more. I'm more patient than I used to be. I used to be really impatient. But playing different characters who are flawed or who are unlikable or who give you a reaction. I think I'm more patient, maybe. I don't know. That's not a helpful answer at all, is it? That's not a helpful answer at all. You're just saying words. You're just saying words now that have no meaning. But I think I'm probably patient and more tolerant. But my children probably wouldn't say that. But I think I am. And I think being an actress for so many years now, and I've been doing it for a long time, I think. I've always been easy to work with. I think that's true. I'm not difficult. I know that. But I think I'm a nice person. I think I'm a nice person, and I think that's important. I think, and playing characters and being able to play characters has allowed me to not be bitter or not be cross about stuff. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm very nervous, so.
That does make sense.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Can we go to the hand just next to you?
Hi.
Hello.
So I have a question. Like, how do you, I guess, maintain your sense of identity while you're like playing all these different roles?
Well, I suppose it is just a job, and I don't have any illusion that it's anything other than telling stories. You know, I'm not doing anything special. I'm not doing anything that's essentially changing the world. I don't think. I think I leave every job I do. I leave it either at the theatre or in a studio or on set. And I think that's really important, because I think then you start to get precious about it, and I think you shouldn't really get precious about this job. I think, as I say, essentially we are telling stories. You know, that's what actors do. They tell stories and they convey emotion and make you want to watch, hopefully. And also I think because I've got kids, it's very difficult to be precious about stuff and pretentious about stuff, because I've got two kids that actually have no respect for me at all, because they're both nearly, one's nearly a teenager and one is a teenager, and they bring you down to earth with a real bump. So it's very difficult to be pretentious about what I do, and nor would I want to, because I just think I'm very lucky that I get to do what I do. I'm really lucky, and I'm thankful every day that I get to be an actress, because so many people don't get to do what I get to do, and so I never take it for granted. And so I think in that respect I don't ever melt into my characters. Like I'll never bring it home. So I'll never, like this job I was doing, The Sun, it was very emotional, and there was a lot of anger, and there was a lot of sadness, and there was a lot of desolation within her character. And it's about leaving it at the theatre, and you process it on stage anyway. You know, if you're, I think being part of being a good actor, apart from turning up on time and learning your lines, which you would be surprised how many people don't do that, actually. But turning up on time, learning your lines, part of being a good actor is actually leaving it where it is and actually being a nice person off stage and being a company member. And that's something that I think you can teach. I don't know how you teach it. But I think it is a part and parcel of being a good actor is leaving your character and leaving whatever you are doing at the door, and then being a company member and being generous with your time and your spirit, I think.
Are there any other questions? Could we go to the hand in the green?
Hello.
Hello.
So if you could look back on your career thus far and if you could redo it, what would be the one thing that you would definitely do again
What would I do?
and one thing that you wouldn't do again?
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. What would I do again? What, a job, you mean? What would I like to do again? What job would I'd like to do, I did a thing on Netflix called Safe. And that, I think that might be one of my favourite television jobs to date. It was just so much fun, and the character was so complex and brilliant, and I didn't really know what was going to happen until the last read through when we got the scripts. I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So I'd like to do something like that again. What I wouldn't do again, I wouldn't go and do 6 recalls for cats that I had to go and do, and then feel really mortified. And I think the only reason they got me back was to laugh at me because I was so bad, because I didn't understand. And looking back, I was really bad, and they kept getting me back. And I think it was just to laugh at me, because I can't believe that I would have actually been in Cats, because I was terrible. Honestly, I'm not joking. I was really poor. And they kept going, you've got another recall. I was like, why? Why do they keep wanting me back? That's madness. You might as well get an actual cat to come in and be better than me. I had to do a few musical theatre auditions, and they were all so bad. I auditioned for Cats, Starlight Express, got into skate school. That was awful. It was like a car crash. Les Mis I went for, and they just literally laughed me off the stage. Yeah, I'm not a musical theatre actor, so I would never want to do a musical theatre audition again, ever. Awful, dreadful. I'm a terrible musical theatre actress. Pointless, utterly pointless. Yeah, big mistake.
Could we go to the hand in the black? Just in the front row, but in the black top, yeah.
No.
Hi again. Should I stand up?
Don't worry about it. No,
It's all right. So you mentioned earlier that you're interested in moving towards directing. And so I was wondering if there are any particular types of projects or genres that you'd be most interested in directing.
Yeah, my friend has written a short film, which we're just trying to get off the ground. And I think I'd have to start small, because I don't have a lot of courage. I'm not particularly. I'm quite. What's the word? Yeah, I'm quite shy about. I'm quite shy, and I'm not one to kind of blow my own trumpet. So when somebody says well done, I'm like don't say anything about my performance. Just don't look at me. And I think. I'd have to start small, so I'd like to do the short film, and then I'd like to work on behind a camera, but I'd also like to direct theatre as well. I think I'd be all right at doing that. I don't know, I've never done it before, so I might be really bad, but I think Kathy Burke once directed me in a play, and she because she's an actress, and she's a really good actress, she had a really good way of talking to actors in a rehearsal room, and I think I'd be quite good at that. I think, although maybe I'd give people line readings. Maybe say it like this, because I have weird taste. I don't know. I think I'd have to start small and get bigger, but it does appeal to me. I'd like the idea of being behind the camera, only because I want those headphones and I want to watch things like that on a monitor. That's all it is, and I don't have to wear costumes. That would be it as well, really. But I'm hoping somebody will offer me some directing soon. We'll see. But we're gonna try and get this short film off the ground that my friend's written, which is really weird, surreal, very funny film. But it's only about 10 minutes long, so hopefully I can start small and then see what happens. I don't know.
I look forward to watching it.
Thank you.
Could we go to the hand just right next to you?
So, considering Sherlock had such like a cult fan following, do you think that affected your portrayal of the character or any of the other cast members' experience, or like the show itself? Like, do you think had any impact?
Yeah, I think so. I think it certainly it really gained momentum. I mean, it hit the ground running. That first series of Sherlock, I remember watching it thinking, I've never seen anything like this. And I think it sort of paved the way for future kind of drama. I think a lot of people took that and ran with it. It certainly, I think it did. I think it was such a powerful piece of drama. And I remember watching it going, this is amazing, because it was so fast paced, and the both of them, all of the people in it was beautifully cast, I think, perfectly cast. Every single person in it just is incredible, I think. You know, Rupert Graves is a perfect Lestrade. Andrew's I think he's the best Moriarty. I just think he is, because he's so Machiavellian and just you love him. I mean, the charisma that man has is ridiculous. It's off the scale, and he just does things where you just go, I would never dream of doing that. That's amazing. Of course, Ben and Martin were just such beautifully cast together, and just looked after each other and bounced off each other. And you know, Molly as well, little Molly. I mean, that was beautiful, Lou Brealey. I mean, and Una as well, Mrs. Hudson. I mean, you couldn't have got a perfect cast of people, I think. And the writing was just so beautiful. And then, you know, they had amazing directors. I think it all kind of hit. It was very serendipitous. Everything kind of aligned, and they had this perfect thing. And it just became something really interesting and exciting to be part of. And I think, I suppose towards the third and fourth series, I think once they knew that there was this cult following, they started to play towards that, and it was interesting to watch and see how that unfolded. I think, you know, I think people were divided with the fourth series. I know that. I know there was a lot of people that didn't like it, and a lot of people that did. But you know, you can't please everybody all the time. I liked it. It was fun.
Could we go to the hand just right behind you?
Hello.
Hi.
I was just wondering, before you joined the film industry, did you have any sort of preconceptions about the film industry that you only discovered after joining, that you were like very horribly wrong about?
It was really hard to get into. Television and film was really hard to get into. I found it, you know, it was a long process, and then I remember doing a job and then it just drying up for 18 months. Like it just stopped, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. And that's the thing I think that I was unprepared for, is that I thought, well, once you're in it, once you're in that bubble of people and that industry, I thought it'd be, I'll just go from job to job, you know, naively. But actually, no, it can stop at any moment, and you can be current and then fall out of favour for like 6 months, and people go, oh yeah, Amanda, yeah, is she still doing it? It's like, well, yeah, no, I'm here. Please use me. And I think that was what I didn't understand when I first got into it, because I thought, it'll be, once you're in, it's like the mafia. Do you know what I mean? They'll just like, you'll just be like part of it, and you'll be a made guy, and everyone will just use you all the time. And actually, it doesn't work like that. It you know, I've had periods of not working for ages, and even after Sherlock, you know, and you think, and that's what I said, like I said to you earlier, it's like, I'll never work again. That's it, I'll never work again. And it can feel like that, like 4 months of not working can feel like a year. And it doesn't mean that, it just means that, you know, that you're not on any lists, or there's not stuff being made that people are talking to you about. So yeah, that was something that pulled me up short. I was like, oh yeah, okay, so this is hard, and you have to develop a really tough exterior and a bit of a backbone and go, it's not, because it's not personal. If you cultivate a nice reputation or a good reputation, it's never personal. It just happens that you're not on anyone's list at the moment. But that changes, you know, it can change the next day. You know, you can get a phone call and say, there's this 6-part drama and they want you to play like a, you know, forensic person in it, and then that can, it's literally that easy. or you could get a play, you know, or whatever. It's a very unpredictable profession, and you have to remember that. And you also have to have outside interests and outside. Like, I think if I didn't have children, I'd be more consumed by it. I think I'd be more angry about, you know, if I wasn't working. But because I don't have that, you know, I have to bring up two little humans. That can it counterbalances the not working. You know, because that is harder work than the acting. This bringing up humans, I hate it. It's really difficult and thankless, and I love them and I die for them. But my God, acting is just a walk in the park compared to that. I hope they're watching this. Their mummy loves them very much.
I had a couple more before we finish the event.
Okay, cool.
Just sort of going off some of the audience questions, I was wondering if you would ever turn down a role, and if you would, what would your reason be?
I had to turn down quite a few roles in the summer, which was really upsetting. But again, it's, you know, because I couldn't go to. I had to turn down a role that was out in the West Indies. It's like 2 weeks filming in the West Indies, like, which would have been really fun. And I couldn't do it because it was summer holidays, and so I couldn't do that. And then I had to turn down a thing called Plebs, which I really love, and I couldn't do that. So I do, and I've just turned down a play that I did. I did God of Carnage last year in Bath, and it's being redone this year. They're in rehearsals now, but I couldn't do it just because I'd been in the West End for 10 weeks, and I didn't have my evenings, and my kids were going, well, you can't do another play. And I was like, no, I know. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do, you know, you have to really cherry pick what you turn down and what you don't. Yeah, so I slightly regretting not doing the play, because I loved that play. It was a Yasmina Razor play who did art, and it was so much fun doing it in Bath. But, you know, you can't, you have to, it's all about balance as well, you know. But yeah, I turn things down reluctantly. I really turn things down reluctantly, and then but like as soon as I've hung up the phone, I'm like, oh God, I should have done that. I hate myself. And then I have to go, just don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it. But it's hard. It is really hard to turn things down.
And do you have one dream role that you'd really like to play in the future?
Yeah, I really want to play Lady Macbeth. I'm desperate to play Lady Macbeth. Really am. I think she's just an amazing character, and I love that. It's my favourite Shakespeare play. And I've never done Shakespeare, so it would be something that I would really like to do. And Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I love that play. I'd like to play in that. I want to play a zombie at some point, or a witch. Something horror. I've always wanted to do a horror film, and I read a book actually. I can't remember the name of it, but there's it's about this witch that walks around in this town and everyone knows her. What's the film? I can't remember. I'd love to play her. She doesn't say anything, but she just every now and again you just see her standing. She's really good. I'd like to do that, and I think they're adapting that in America. And I keep saying to my agent, please can I play the witch? Please can I play the witch that doesn't say anything? She just walks around and shuffles around, and she does this every now and again, and just like it slides in. Has anyone seen Marianne on Netflix? Oh, it's so good. It's a French. It's about 8 episodes of a thing called Marianne, and it's all about a witch. It's honestly, it's one of the most terrifying series I've ever seen. It's brilliantly done. But I'd love to play a witch. Yeah, I'd love to do that. It's my dream to play something really sinister and horrible. American Horror Story as well. I'd like to be in that. That'd be great.
And then my final question before we finish today is what advice you'd have for any young aspiring actors or actresses?
I would just say, I think if you really want to do it and it's something that is burning inside, you never give up. You've got to be really scrappy and just go, when I first started off, I did every job. I didn't turn anything down. I did commercials, I did everything. you know, student films. I did loads of things just to build up a reputation and also to build up a CV. And I think it's, you know, it's being tenacious and believing in yourself, you know, believing you have the right to be there. That's one of the things I've always said, is that you have a right to be there. And also, it's, you know, it's about being nice, and it is, you know, I think that's part of getting a good reputation as an actor is just being easy to work with and not being precious about your career and not being precious about your profession. You know, you can love it and you can nurture it and look after it, but you're telling stories, and I think as long as you do that with dignity and grace and good manners, it stands you in good stead, because people go, oh yeah, no, she's nice, you know. That's always, you know, my boyfriend's doing a film at the moment, and he says, you know, I go onto set and I say, you know, I'm going out with you, and people go, oh, I like her, and I think, oh, thank God, you know, that's, because that's what it is, you know, it is about having fun, you know, it's about having fun and being nice and gentle and looking after your art and looking after your craft. You know, I love my job and I nurture it and I look after it, and that's part of it, I think.
Okay, well, that's unfortunately all we have time for today.
Thank you for
coming.
Thank you
so
Look
much
at you
for
taking
coming.
your time out to see me. I'm so thrilled and honoured. Thank you so much. You've been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please join me in thanking them.